Hello, and welcome to the Rambling Movie Club, where each episode we try and watch something new and hope to find some good movies, and we come back and talk about them. If you haven't seen this movie, basically, if you like Ryan Reynolds and Samuel L. Jackson, you're going to like this movie, because it's both very much their trademarks that they're known for. Samuel L. Jackson swears every 2 minutes, and Ryan Reynolds is very silly and stuff. You can watch this movie with spoilers, like it's a comedy movie, so it's, there are no major plot points really. I would recommend watching this movie blind, because then you'll won't have any of the jokes spoiled for you or anything. So this movie came out in 2018, I think it was. It's a couple of years ago now. And there's a second one coming out this year, which is very unusual because this is like a buddy road trip movie. And there's been like tons of these movies made, and it's always with like the most famous actors of the time. The one that comes to mind is there was one a few years ago with Robert Downey Jr. and the guy from The Hangover, and it's called Due Date, and it's absolutely awful because basically they're like, let's take these two people that are really popular and funny at the time, put them in a movie together, and it'll be perfect. And it's awful, absolutely awful. So it was very unlikely that this movie was going to succeed, but actually it worked out to be really good. So I'm really looking forward to the second one coming out, this movie, which I think is called The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. So let's wait and see if it's any good. So anyway, on to spoiler territory, so you've been warned. So we're introduced to Ryan Reynolds' character Michael, and we see how great his life is as a bodyguard. And then the guy he's guarding dies, which is hilarious. It's also a great introduction straight into the action and straight into the world. And then we jump forward to him peeing in a bottle in a car, which is great matching shots for transitions, because he's making the same expression. And he's come to protect a drugged up accountant, who I can't remember his name, but he's a really famous actor. He's in Rise of Skywalker as one of the bad guys. He's been in tons of movies. I think it's Richard E. Grant is his name. I could be wrong on that one, but he's a very famous British actor. And we see Ryan Reynolds' trademark humour, where he's trying to save the accountant, and he's got a great line of, is it too much cocaine or not enough? And we're also really seeing the contrast between then, when he had this whole fleet of other bodyguards helping him out, and now where he's just got this guy who's high off his face, and he's trying to shepherd him into a car. And then we get shown the bad guy of the movie, Gary Oldman, who's going to play this dictator in an Eastern Europe country. And there's a great example of show don't tell, where it's we see him turn up, trash this guy's house, kill his family in front of him, and straight away you're like, okay, this is an awful dude. It's not just oh, there's a bad guy out there, we need to stop. It's no, you've seen why he's bad. Okay, let's go. And then we see how he's on trial. None of the evidence against him is stuck, so the last hope is to get Samuel L. Jackson's character to the trial, who's the hitman. We see how he's not going to get anything, but his wife is. It's a great setup for his character to kind of see his motivations and how he believes in love over everything. We kind of see this reflected further and further throughout the movie. And then we see how Kincaid's going to be gotten to the trial. Another great line is, "It's a secret, that makes me feel so much safer." And it's just yeah, it's so true. We get to see how much of a wild card he is when he headbutts the guy, and he's like, are you prepared for this? And within 10 minutes, we've been shown every single character of the movie that we need to know, and all of their motivations and all of their character personalities and traits. So there's no surprises, and you kind of know what's on brand for the characters. Like I say, Samuel L. Jackson's the wild card, Ryan Reynolds is is the funny guy, but also a little bit serious too. And then of course the cars get attacked en route. Everyone dies apart from Kincaid and Agent Roussel. This is way more dramatic than real life, but stuff like this does happen. There's been several Russian spies who've tried to run away from Russia and hide in the UK, and they've been publicly killed by other Russian spies. The most famous one was about a Russian spy called Litvinenko, which was probably about 5-10 years ago now, and he got poisoned with radiation in a cafe in public and died. So, this movie isn't completely based on fiction. And then they get to a safe house. She calls Michael to come and help them. There's another great transition from him saying, let's take the car out and burn it, to a car actually on fire. And then we have Kincaid and Bryce finally meet for the first time, and they fight. Police and the thugs surround the building. Kincaid shows off by beating people up, and the police storm the building. This is finally a true British police response. They run to the top of the building, and Kincaid jumps off and somehow survives. They make a run for it, and they switch cars while police are tracking them. We've got another great transition here, where they're reading out the number plate and then cuts to the car. They steal another car while the bad guys are trying to catch up to them, and we have a lovely duet between the two of them. I would love to know if this was improv or was actually part of the script. Then they get jumped by the bad guys but manage to beat them. Then their car gets blown up, which then blows up the other vehicle. And while they're walking, we find out how Kincaid met his wife. She basically killed a bunch of dudes in front of him, And then another great line of, "Where'd you guys meet? Christian Mingle?" And then they get picked up by a van of nuns who love Kincaid but hate Bryce, which is pretty ironic. And they get the ferry to Amsterdam, during which Bryce is starting to question his and Kincaid's moralities. And it's surprisingly deep for a road trip movie, like questioning, like, you know, which is right, like protecting bad people or killing bad people. And then when they get to Amsterdam and Kincaid breaks into Bryce's apartment because he can't open the door, another great line when he's like, "Jesus Christ," and he's like, "Nope, just Kincaid." It's like, I love that like subtle like humor. Kincaid escapes to leave flowers for Sonia to see. Bryce follows and takes out all the bad guys. Bryce finds out that Kincaid killed Kurosawa, the Japanese guy from the start, and punches him in the face and leaves him. This is a great example again of show don't tell, where we see the whole reason why his life's fallen apart, and it's all because of this guy. Like, it's a great payoff from the start of the movie. So this movie does really well like show don't tell. Basically, Bryce is complaining about Kincaid to the bartender. The bad guys attacked Kincaid. Looks like Ryan Reynolds is in front of a green screen, but watching the credits, there's an outtake that seems to show him on the set, and I don't know if they've just like changed like the saturation of him and like kind of like taken some of the colours out of the background so it looks slightly off just to make him pop out a bit more. But yeah, it seems, or the other thing I can think of is maybe different lighting, because he does seem a bit brighter too. Yeah, it's interesting they actually decided to put him on set for that, and I like it. Like, it shows they've done more practicality and thought about it a bit more. Kincaid tries to escape the bad guys on a boat while Bryce protects him on a bike. They're in Amsterdam, so of course there has to be an action scene along the canals. Apparently when they filmed it, they had to close all the streets around the canals for several days, which results in the biggest traffic jam ever in Amsterdam. Kincaid gets away, but Bryce is captured and tortured. Ryan Reynolds' reaction seeing the torturer is so accurate when he goes, "Ew," because he's a pretty gross man. Kincaid saves him and they escape. They switch cars again, and this is where all the fun action really starts. And this is kind of like, I've been enjoying the movie up to this point, but like from here I was like, yes, like this is a great movie. The shot of them driving out the car park is great, with Ryan Reynolds being like, "Oh, that's amazing," Samuel L. Jackson being like, "I'm bored." And as they're driving along, Bryce pours his heart out to Roselle on the phone, and is catapulted out of the windscreen as he's about to say he loves her. And it's a great subversion of expectations, because you're expecting him to be like, "I love you," and it's like, nope, he's out the car before it can even happen. And it's a great payoff for all the times throughout the movie when he's been like, "Put seatbelts on, put seatbelts on." So yeah, it's a great payoff for that. And then as the chase kind of starts, you've got Black Betty, the song kicks in, and it kind of, if you listen to my Sonic episode, you'll know what I'm talking about here, where kind of the high energy of the song gives the action scene so much more energy, and it's just really, really, really well done, and it makes it more fun and enjoyable. It's also great to see a car chase in a normal car that isn't like some souped up muscle car or sports car or something. And basically Bryce fights the main goons and a couple of others in a kitchen, and then a hardware shop as the soundtrack changes to another song with great energy. And it's great to see them trying to do a one-shot style fight scene. It's not perfect, but this is really hard to do, and it does seem like quite a small budget movie, especially with so many high-profile actors. The bit where Bryce is trying to convince the guy in the shop to slide him the gun is great too. And then obviously it finishes with Kincaid showing up and shouting, "TikTok, motherfucker," which is just brilliant. They make it just in time for Kincaid to give his evidence, and Agent Roussel realizes her boss is the mole and fights him as Gary Oldman blows up the building. Bryce takes a bullet for Kincaid and then tells him to go kill Gary Oldman, which again is great. Like, you're seeing these like character changes where like Bryce before was like, no, very serious, very calculated, like would never take a bullet because he never had to, whereas now like he's taking more risks. And Gary Oldman is like, "Oh, you're so serious, you think this will make you a good guy, but it won't." And Kincaid is like, "Nah, that's cool," and then pushes him off the building, which is again very on par for his character. The day is saved. Bryce and Roselle are getting back together, which would be great to see if they're still together in the second movie. Kincaid gets arrested, but he breaks out of prison later so he can dance with Sonia, of course, while people are being killed around them, because that's true love. And yeah, that's The Hitman's Bodyguard. As I said at the start, I think this is a great movie. Great buddy road trip movie. One of the few that actually works. And I really can't wait to see the sequel that comes out this year. A fun fact, apparently Samuel L. Jackson swears 122 times in this movie, and 22 of those were the word motherfucker. So he's definitely on brand with his character. But yeah, what did you think of this movie? Did you like it as much as I did? Or was it too silly for your taste? Feel free to come let me know on Instagram, where you can find me at Rambling Movie Club. So, next episode of movie is going to be the movie Six Underground, which I haven't actually seen yet. It's a new Michael Bay movie on Netflix, Ryan Reynolds in it, because I love Ryan Reynolds, so let's carry on that train. I don't know too much about it. I've only seen a couple of trailers. It's something to do with like this like squad of like action SWAT team people who have like all been killed, in quotes, basically fake their deaths and are going around the world killing like high profile people to try and like make the world a better place. I've seen obviously like things like Transformers and stuff, so I'm curious to see like what Michael Bay does with this, where it's something a bit different. And I love Ryan Reynolds, so hopefully it should be good. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next time.